Hi, guys. This week in social studies, we're going to talk about citizenship. So, we're going to talk about patriotic symbols, landmarks, and founding documents. So, we're going to start this week with citizens' rules, symbols, and celebrations of America. We're not going to watch the entire video. We are going to stop and then we'll finish it tomorrow, but we're going to watch that. And then we're going to go ahead and start watching it now.
Did you ever wonder why the American flag is red, white, and blue? Do you know why these symbols are on the back of a $1 bill? Do you know who wrote the Pledge of Allegiance or why we say it? America has lots of symbols. Americans celebrate our country in many ways. Let's learn about the symbols of the United States. The American flag is one of our country's most important symbols. Where did the first American flag come from and when? Here's the story. The story of the American flag begins a long time ago in colonial America. At that time, America was made up of 13 colonies that belonged to England. Each colony was separate and independent. The people living in the colonies, called colonists, had complaints about King George III and the government in England. They wanted more of a say in how they were governed. Some colonists staged protests against the king. In response, the king sent troops to keep order, but the situation got more violent. In April of 1775, a small band of colonists called militiamen faced off against an army of British soldiers called the Redcoats. 1 month later, representatives or delegates from the colonies met in Philadelphia. The delegates of the Continental Congress agreed that there should be one American army made up of soldiers from all the colonies, so they created the Grand American Army. Who was the commander-in-chief of the army? I bet you know his name. It was George Washington. Washington and Benjamin Franklin led a committee to design a flag for the army, one that would represent all the colonies. What they came up with is a flag that had 13 stripes, one for each of the 13 colonies. The British flag, known as the Union Jack, was placed in the upper left-hand corner. It showed the relationship between the colonies and England. You see, the colonies were still part of England, and what the colonists wanted and were fighting for were their rights as Englishmen. About a year later, on July 4th, 1776, the American colonies declared their independence from England. Now the new country needed a flag of its own, a flag that would be a symbol of liberty and freedom. Who made the first flag? Well, tradition says that Betsy Ross of Philadelphia sewed the first flag, but nobody really knows for sure. On June 14th, 1777, Congress passed a resolution creating the flag. June 14th, that's when we celebrate Flag Day. The resolution stated that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Congress forgot one important thing. They never said how the stars and stripes were to be arranged. So there were all kinds of different versions of the flag. The flag we salute today was adopted in 1959, when Hawaii became the nation's 50th state. Today, the flag flies proudly over government buildings, schools, public places, private companies, and homes all over the country. It's displayed in parades and in art. The flag even flies on the moon. Today, our flag remains a symbol of freedom and independence. You know the words to the Pledge of Allegiance. But when was it written and who wrote it? Here's the story. The Pledge of Allegiance first appeared in 1892 in a children's magazine called The Youth's Companion. Francis Bellamy, who worked for the magazine, wrote the pledge as part of a celebration for the 400th anniversary of the voyage of Christopher Columbus. That year, on Columbus Day, more than 12 million children across the country recited what was called the Youth's Companion Pledge. It went like this: I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not exactly what we say today. There have been a few changes. In 1923, a committee of veterans decided to change the words "my flag" to "the flag of the United States of America." In 1954, a congressman proposed the words "under God" be added, because Abraham Lincoln called the United States "one nation under God" in the Gettysburg Address. There are only 31 words in the pledge, but some of the words are pretty difficult. So let's go through the pledge a couple of words at a time. I pledge allegiance to the flag. The word pledge means promise. Allegiance means to be loyal. Of the United States of America. Well, that's not so hard. To the republic. Republic is the kind of government we have, where representatives are elected by the people, for which it stands. One nation, under God, indivisible. Indivisible means it can't be divided, with liberty and justice for all. Liberty means freedom, and justice means fairness. This is what the Pledge of Allegiance really means. I promise to be loyal to the flag and the kind of government that it represents. One nation that can't be divided, with freedom and fairness for everyone. The Pledge of Allegiance was officially adopted in 1942. It's not a law that you have to say the pledge, but all across America, that's how many students begin the day.
So we are going to stop there today, and we'll finish it tomorrow. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and on to my world. I'm going to read you page 2. So if you want to go ahead and go to your online book on page 2, I'm going to read it to you. The first part says symbols of our nation. America's enduring principles are represented by certain patriotic symbols, customs, celebrations, and landmarks. Whenever we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, for example, we are being reminded of the core beliefs that contribute to our national identity. One of the most enduring patriotic symbols of America is Uncle Sam. Not everyone agrees of the origin of the character, but most believe that a man from New York named Samuel Wilson was the model. Wilson supplied much needed food to hungry American soldiers during the War of 1812. By the 1830s, the character was appearing in political cartoons as a symbol of the United States. Uncle Sam was used most famously during World War I on posters asking young men to join the army. Political symbols. Symbols are also used to represent America's political parties. The elephant came to be popular representation of the Republican Party in the 1870s. A New York newspaper cartoonist named Thomas Nast started using the elephant to represent the party, but not in a positive way. Nast felt the party was compromising its beliefs. He drew a frightened elephant as a depiction of Republican voters. The image has been used ever since. The Democratic Party also has an animal representing it, the donkey. The Democrat symbol appears around the same time as the Republican elephant. Once again, it was the pen of Thomas Nast that popularized the symbol. Nast used the donkey in his cartoons to criticize the Democratic Party as well as newspapers that supported Democratic candidates. So, from that, you guys are going to go and complete some discussion questions. So here are some questions for you to think about and then write your opinion. What do you know about the history of the character Uncle Sam? What is Uncle Sam's expression in the poster? Why is Uncle Sam depicted as an old man with a white beard? So these are the questions you're going to answer in your discussion today. And a lot of them are your opinions, so just go ahead and do it. The last thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to your social studies ISN, and you're going to go down and you're going to find patriotic symbols, landmarks, and founding documents. And you're going to add a little bit. You could add pictures for what we learned about, or you can add your thoughts in here about what we learned about for our patriotic symbols and landmarks today. So those two things you're going to do on your own. Make sure you remember to share with your teacher, and I will see you tomorrow.